Guy and Johnny of Coldplay. Welcome,
Hello,
guys.
Samantha.
Thanks very much.
Right, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. It's a true pleasure.
It's our very first show. You are launching Q for us.
It's amazing.
Or sinking it.
Let's hope not.
Was a long and dark December. From the rooftops I remember there was snow, white snow. Clearly I remember from the windows they were watching while we froze down below. When the future's architecture by a carnival of idiots on show, you better lie low. If you love me, won't you let me know? It was a long and dark December when the banks became cathedrals and the fog that came down. Priests clutched onto Bibles, hollowed out to fit their rifles, and the cross was held aloft. Bury me in armor when I'm dead and hit the ground. My nerves are cold and unfold. If you love me, won't you let me know?
The world is waiting with bated breath for the release of your fourth album.
The world is waiting for the radio station.
Well, that too, but I think there will be because they know that you're here today.
So it's two in one.
Well, Viva La Vida, or Death and All His Friends, to give it its full title.
Yeah.
Now, you've said that this isn't your experimental record, but it is quite a different sound. I mean, there's a definite shift. You've got a more experimental producer than you've ever had in Brian Eno. You've got more instruments than you've ever used before, a kind of broader, dreamier landscape. It is a very different Coldplay album.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Did you make a conscious effort that you obviously have tried to make a different sound and change your sound, but it's not experimental?
Well, we felt like visually we're never going to be as attractive or as interesting as Madonna or Beyonce. So the only thing we had going for us is that we could change our sound a little bit, you know, and try something new. And we, like you said, we worked with people who were very much not Coldplay fans before, Brian and Marcus Drabs, and so they kicked us into new territories.
And did you make a conscious effort to say we want to move on and make something different?
I think it was important because, you know, we love making music, and, you know, if we just carried on doing, you know, making records in the same ways we did before, it might end up being a bit boring for us, and also for, you know, anyone who's interested in listening. So it was a really sort of refreshing process to be working in a different, you know, in our own studio with different people.
I wanna be a soldier, the captain of some sinking ship with stone far below. If you love me, why'd you let me go? I took my love down to Violet Hill. There we sat in snow. All that time she was silent still. So if you love me, won't you let me know? If you love me, won't you let me know?
What are your hopes for this record? Do you still feel the same kind of nervousness that you did when you were releasing your first records?
Even more.
Really?
Of course, yeah. Because anything we try really hard on, we really care about. I mean, it's the same. It would be the same for you in this show, you know. That's assuming that you care about it.
I care deeply.
Yeah, so you're nervous about what people will say and whether anyone will enjoy it, and also people have, you know, been at work in the week and earned money, and then they choose to maybe spend it on your record. So you want to hope that they don't feel like they've been ripped off. That's how I feel about it.
Just because I'm losing doesn't mean I'm lost. doesn't mean I'll stop. Doesn't mean I'm across.
So when we spoke festival back in June when we first met, despite your nerves, obviously just before the album came out and trademark self-deprecation, you did seem pretty confident in the album that you'd created. Is that how you felt?
Really? Well, maybe on that day. What day of the week was it?
I think it was a Tuesday.
Well, Tuesday is always good.
Did you feel good about it after you'd finished? I mean, when you released it, did you think this is our best album yet?
No, I think it's... did I feel good about it? Well, I don't know, it's still so close. We're still playing it every day, live, and I still don't know if it's any good. I know it isn't that bad, if you know what I mean. We really enjoy playing it. That's the main thing. As terribly cliched as it sounds.
I'm just waiting till the shine wears off. I'm not dead. They're just living in my head. Oh, and since I fell for that spell, I'm living there as well. So short, and I'm sure there must be something
Some of the tracks are quite beats heavy. I mean, there are some Spanish beats in there. I mean, what are the kinds of things that influenced you when you decided to sort of make that change?
Well, unfortunately, Will, our drummer, who's just not a very nice person, has declined to do any radio interviews because he says he's building some kind of
doing
tower.
Stuff. Yeah.
He's doing stuff. But he got very in. First of all, he's very into Dr. Dre, and he's also then very into things like Christy Moore. So what goes on in his head, I don't know, but he comes out with... Recently, he's been coming out with beats that just don't sound like what he used to do. And none of us really know what happened to him, but...
Are you quite happy to go with that, then, if he comes to you with something you just think is crazy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting.
You're only as good... I mean, the whole thing is true, is you're only as good as your drummer.
Really?
Yeah.
You really believe that?
I actually, it's 100% true. Because he's the if he's not into something, then it's never going to happen. I mean, that goes for trousers as much as it goes for music. If he says no, then you can forget it.
You thought you might be a ghost. You thought you might be a ghost. You didn't get to heaven, but you made it close. You didn't get to heaven, but you made it close. You thought you might be a ghost. You thought you might be a ghost. You didn't get to heaven, but you made it close. You didn't get to heaven, but you
Well, do you feel like you have the freedom to do whatever you want? Like, we want to make a different record, we're going to do it? Or do you feel pressure that, obviously you are Coldplay, the world has such high expectations of you, your label has high expectations. Can you just go in there and do whatever you want?
Well, we got our own studio, and obviously working with Brian and Marcus, they did free us up to do whatever we wanted. And there's a great music shop in Chalk Farm that sells crazy instruments from all over the world. And so we'd go in there pretty much every week and buy something new.
Man.
Yeah. And try and work out how to play it like that.
The hood. We never worked that thing out.
No, we were rubbish at that.
Yeah, we really were.
What are some of the weirder instruments that people might be able to pick out?
Well, what we like to do is buy saxophones and melt them down into something useful.
That's extremely wasteful.
Personal vendetta.
I do have a problem with the saxophone. Is that terrible? Is that musicist?
Yeah, to kind of rule out saxophones.
I don't rule it out. I just think you've got to rein them in a bit.
Kind of ruling out jazz.
I'm not ruling out jazz. I'm just saying that, I don't know, lots of people have said this in the past, but it's nice sometimes to play instruments that you don't know how to play, or to put guitars in tunings that you don't understand, because then you always have the pleasure of discovery or accidental music, which is kind of the only way you can write good songs. Because otherwise, if you play everything that you know how to play, you think, I can't do that, it sounds like this, or I can't do that, it's the same chords as Wonderwall, or,
Easily done.
Easily done. Well, a lot of songs are the same chords as Wonderwall.
Those who are dead are not dead, they're just living in my head.
Let's talk about the structure of the album, because it's quite interesting. You start and end with the same track, The Escapist. It fades in at the start, fades out at the end. I haven't tried it, but I assume if you put them together it will play in a natural loop. And you've also got a couple of tracks that are sort of 2 in 1. I mean, was that an intentional cheeky way of sort of circumventing the iPod Shuffle generation?
A little bit.
Really?
And also just a bit more value for money.
Yeah.
I mean, Q Magazine does it with, giving away things occasionally, and so we thought, well, everyone else does it, so, why can't we?
Yeah, we kind of thought, when we started out, we thought we want a record that's about 40-something minutes long and has about 10 tracks. But then we started writing songs that were much shorter than we'd written before. And so, but we still wanted to kind of keep it at 10 tracks, I think.
I mean, that is very noticeable, that it's a very short album. Just fits nicely onto one side of a 90-minute cassette, if that was relevant to anyone anymore.
That was Will's philosophy.
That was Will's thing.
Right.
You have to have 2 albums on one cassette.
Also, if you play it backwards, you get the recipe for lasagna.
Everyone's going to be trying that now. You shouldn't throw things like that out there.
Yeah, won't taste that great, but, it will work.
So was the length of the album initially, I mean, you made that decision before you started, what is to be our shortest record?
Well, I think, when you're in Coldplay, you obviously, you have to think that brevity is probably going to make people happy, I think we were starting to get a little bit lengthy in our previous work, so we had to rein it back a bit.
Who are you guys listening to at the moment?
I always listen to Radiohead. I like Radiohead.
We all like Radiohead. It's how we got our career. Radiohead cleared a beautiful path, and we came along and put a massive strip mall behind it. I see them as sort of walking through the jungle with a machete, ecologically making a nice trail, and then I see us as coming along behind them with huge tarmac makers. It's a tragedy.
Really?
No, not really, but it's a good answer.
Tell me about Brian Eno. How did you get him on board? Is it easy to get people to work with you now? You are the biggest band in the world. We can have whoever we want.
We told him there was a Miss Camden contest happening, and would he come and judge it? And then when he came in, we locked the door behind him and told him it was only a joke, and he had to produce a record, or else we would, cut off his arms.
It's a good tactic.
Yeah, the last bit isn't true. How do we get Brian Eno in? I don't know. I have no idea to this day. I don't know why he's done it.
I mean, there must be people knocking down your door to want to work with you.
No, there's people knocking down the door to try and nick the equipment, because the studio's in a bit of a
That's true, actually.
dodgy area.
Well, they tried to knock down the wall to nick the equipment.
Yeah.
When? They went through the back of the restaurant or something.
Yeah.
Really?
Isn't that a Woody Allen film?
Yeah, that's Take the Money and Run. No, it's the one with the cookies,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
called
Small Time Crooks.
Small Time Crooks. All right. Are you a big Woody Allen fan?
I can't say that I am, but I know what I know.
Well, you must be if you know that film. He's, by the way, the most. If you want to learn about life, I think that's how you do it, by watching Woody Allen films.
If you want to be as depressed as you possibly could be.
No, it's not, because he always sees the great things in life through the bad stuff. You know?
Yeah,
You know, you won't be depressed, Samantha. I promise.
I'll take your word for it, and I should go
Please
out
take my
and-
word for it. Go and watch. Have you seen Manhattan?
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing film.
And have you seen Love and Death?
No.
Okay. Sure, go and watch that.
Okay, I'll do that. As soon as I get out of here, that's the
When
first
you
thing
get
I'll
off
do.
there. Okay.
Definitely. Well, what did Brian bring to the table? I mean, what difference did he make? I mean, he is quite an experimental producer, and
I think he just made us all feel free to try any ideas that we have, and not, even if in our minds they were silly ideas, to just get them out and we'll try them. And quite often, I can't think of any specific example, but sometimes it was the silliest ideas which had the best results. So I think he just gave us that kind of liberation and freedom to speak out, and don't be afraid to feel silly. And it was just a lot of ideas were hatched that way.
did you use his, is it oblique strategy, his cards? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, we did try that.
We did everything we were told, but if Brian comes in and says everyone has to wear flippers today and stand on their heads, you just do it. So he sometimes brought in a card. One day he brought in a hypnotist. We did that. We went on field trips with him.
And did it help? I mean, what sort of, did you just feel silly, or did you enter into the spirit of it?
No, it did help a lot, because he really liberated us from any previous expectation or any position that we were in before. He just made us feel like a school kids, really. So when we're basically always trying to impress our teacher. That's how we felt about it, I think. So you just do what he says, and it was a nice way of working.
Well, I mean, also speaking about Brian Eno, I mean, that he obviously produced this album. Would you work with him again? Was that a good collaboration for you?
We would work with him even if it was just sheep dipping. Anything he says to do, we'll do it.
Is it very likely to happen for the next Coldplay record then?
Well, let's see if there is another Coldplay record first. We've got to get to the end of the tour of this one.
So is that because you think there might not be another Coldplay record?
No, I think it's because I shouldn't be saying this in an interview, but because it sounds a little hippie, but I'm just trying to enjoy today. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know is the answer to that question.
Do you live each day as it comes then?
I'm trying to take each day as it comes, because otherwise you start to worry too much.
We were sitting on the strawberry swing. Every moment was so precious. We were sitting, we were talking on the strawberry swing. Perfect day. It's such a perfect day. I remember we were walking up to Strawberry Swing. I can't wait till the morning. Wouldn't wanna change a thing. Inside a perfectly straight line. Don't you wanna just curve away when
Andy, and you're listening to Viva Coldplay. Not ones to take themselves too seriously, the group were more than happy to discuss their many unlikely celebrity connections. One such connection was that of Coldplay and a certain pop princess from Melbourne, Australia. Well, one of the things that doesn't seem to have made it onto the album is the track that you recorded with Kylie.
Yeah.
How did that come about? What happened and why isn't it on the album?
Well, it's just too sexy. At this point, we cannot be that sexy.
Yeah.
And we haven't quite finished it.
Oh, right. So what can you tell us about the track? What's it like?
Well, it begins. No, it's a song called Luna, and I think it's. If you like Coldplay music, I think you would not find it too disappointing. Right, John?
I think I don't quite understand what you're saying.
I just mean as it isn't the shittest thing of all time.
No, it's quite good.
It's quite good.
Kylie is particularly good.
She is particularly brilliant on it.
Did she have any input into the writing, or if it's just come in and lay down vocals?
She writes most of our stuff.
She's your secret weapon.
And we design most of our outfits.
Is that going to see the light of day?
100%, yeah. In fact, I'm going to tell you exclusively that it will be on a record that we'll put out next year sometime, at the end of next year. How's that for a news?
It's gold. Keep it coming.
It'll probably be track 9.
I'll hold you to that. Track 9.
And then track 10 will be a song called Life in Technicolor, which is the song of a piece that we put on this album. And it will neatly wrap up things for the end of the decade. And then I don't know what we'll do.
That's an instrumental on the album. Is there a vocal version then?
Yeah, and it's really good, but we just didn't want to show it yet.
Didn't quite work with everything else.
I'll play a bit of it. It goes like this. There's a wild wind blowing down the corner of my street. Every night there the headlights are glowing. That's the beginning of it.
Chris Martin exclusively on QPM.
No one's ever heard that before.
That is amazing.
And it will come...
Did that sound really insincere?
It did. What about this? Big barrels of blancmange are running down my legs. Does that sound amazing? You're just going to say anything we play sounds amazing. What about this song Guy's going to sing? Yeah, go on, do it, man.
Oh, come
sing
on,
that song you always sing, man. Go on. You're not going to do it, are you?
No.
Right, forget it.
I ain't playing ball.
Okay.
Jeez. Well, I'm blown away now.
One day that song will come out. The reason why we didn't put it on this is because it's probably I don't know. I don't know.
We always felt it should be. To be fair, we always felt that song should be the opener of the album. But actually having the full song was a little bit like showing off everything too soon.
Yeah. So in fact, we're going to finish the decade with it and then disappear forever in a cloud of hash.
There's a wild wind blowing down the corner of my street. Every
Brian Eno, who you worked with on the album, is now back with U2.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Gone back to his first wife.
how do you feel about that? Are you excited about the new U2
Well, we feel
material?
very jealous now. We thought we had him for good. But how do you know about that? Well, that's probably the same way you feel. Extreme pleasure.
Are you a big U2 fan?
Yeah, of course. Haven't you listened to our records?
Good point.
Haven't you been to our concerts?
Is this album going to be more difficult for you to recreate live, do you think? You've got a lot of instruments on there. It's been a different process.
Well, we'll see.
Well, we have been rehearsing for a couple of weeks now, and we've got to make a few changes to play things live because on some songs we all sang on top of them after we'd played them, so it is quite tricky, but I think we are getting there, and hopefully by the time we get to Brixton it'll all just about hold together.
Yeah, let's hope. We'll do some surprises here and there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A couple of weddings.
Bar mitzvahs.
I think being a wedding band, if we hadn't got signed, I think we would probably do that because it seems like a good job to me. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think Will would have stuck with us through that?
No.
He wouldn't have. He would have. Can't believe that.
You said that you sort of judge how well the album's doing and how well you're doing by what songs the fans sing back to you at gigs. So what have those songs been?
Well, it's become apparent to us that there's a song called Viva La Vida that's like a big hit for us, which makes our day so good. And that's really kind of our biggest single on these days with Fix You and Yellow and, Fix You and Yellow. And yeah, that's it. That's the main one I would say at this point.
I used to rule the world. Seas had rise when I gave the word. Now in the morning I sleep alone. Sweep the streets I used to own.
Do you prefer playing live or being in the studio? And has that changed since when you first started out? Have your feelings about the two changed as well?
Well, I think it's, we've been in the studio for a couple of years now, and I think we're really looking forward to going and touring and playing live, and then, it's the same thing that will happen in a little while. Once we've been doing that, we'll be dying to go back into the studio, so it's quite a nice sort of dual existence we lead.
Let me go, boys, let me go. Push my boat from the highest cliff to the sea below. Rocks are waiting, boys, if rocks are waiting. Swoop down from the sky and catch me like a bird of prey. You wait a
Xanthi, and you're listening to Viva Coldplay, a look back at an incredible year for Chris, Will, Johnny and Guy. The week after I first caught up with the band, the album Viva La Vida, or Death and All His Friends, was released amidst huge anticipation. In just 3 days, it sold 300,000 copies in the UK alone. It has since cleared 1 million UK sales, gone platinum everywhere from Germany to Japan, and topped the US Billboard charts. So, 3 months later, it was time to see if the industry and readers of Q agreed. October the 6th was the day of the Q Awards, and for the first time, Q Radio was broadcasting live from the show at what was one hell of an event.
Q Radio, live at the Q Awards 2008 with Russian Standard Vodka.
Oh, soon it's going to be party time. So it's my pleasure to award this monumental award to the monumental Coldplay.
Winner for Best Album is...
Coldplay!
Well, you also had great Q Awards success this year. You got Best Album and also Best Act in the World today. And at the time, the band all seemed very jubilant when you'd got those awards. Is that important to you?
I think is the word you're looking for.
Thanks a lot. Now, I unfortunately have so much to say that you're going to be bored out of your pants, which, if you were Girls Aloud, would be a good thing for me. But, now listen, first of all, our band is a tight union, even though it seems like one tout with a balding haircut at the front of it. Everyone's trying to be cool. No one's cool. We're not cool. We're the biggest band in the world. Not quite biggest band. Okay. I add an addenda to that, which is that U2 are on holiday and Radiohead are on holiday also. So we're kind of really substitute teachers, which is fine. So what else do I want to say? How's it going so far? Great. I think this is one of the great acceptance speeches of all time. I had one other thing to say. Oh yeah, the Kaiser Chiefs' new stuff is awesome, and you should check it out. Apart from that, that's basically it. We'd like to thank our friends and family, Vampire Weekend, from whom we got inspiration for this album, ironically, and not ironically, really, just pure truthfully. There's no irony in it. I never understood irony. What the hell's irony? Who knows?
You were very excited. Everyone was happy at the time.
We were excited. It means a lot to us. Things like that, although they don't, in the world scale of events, have great repercussions for musicians and people who like music. They're a big deal, and for us they're the biggest deal because that's kind of where we come from.
10 years ago we supported Catatonia, and
Don't rub it in.
Okay, but well, it was a big moment in my life. You let me hold your cigarette. I thought maybe there's a chance, but there was no chance. Anyway, go on.
There is a chance.
I've gone all tingly. I've gone all ting-tingy.
I also caught up with Guy and Johnny backstage.
That kind of sums up how we feel. We're really excited, we especially, the album thing,
Yeah. Is that the big one for you then?
Yeah, it really is. Because there was some great albums released this year, and it's voted as well. So yeah, we're really excited about it.
Absolutely, and the album's done amazingly well. We must be really proud. Is it nerve-wracking when you put out a new album? Do you still worry about how it's going to be received?
Yeah, of course, every time. It's like, we spend so long in the studio sort of making this thing, and then you never know if it's going to be sort of met with what sort of reaction. So I think we all feel that the whole team, Brian Eno and Marcus Dravs were a really good kind of thing for us, and we're really proud of it.
And how would it go down for you in 2009?
I've no idea.
Do you think that could be on the cards?
I don't think so, actually.
Why not?
Well, that's a good question. Let me think about that. I'll respond to that in writing.
Anyway, I've got two things to say. First of all, Dave Gilmour wants to play Glastonbury. Pink Floyd at Glastonbury, I'm not having that. And secondly, I don't even think we're the best act in the room, let alone in the world. So thank you for having us. Thank you for letting us be this.
Well, you also, at the Q Awards, attributed your success to acts like Radiohead taking a year off. Was that just your usual self-deprecation, or do you still feel like you're the understudies?
Well, don't you feel... How do you feel about Jimmy Savile's retirement? Don't you think it helped you?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I can't argue with that logic.
You've got to see gaps in the market. And if someone's on holiday, that's the time to release your record.
So does that mean if Radiohead come back this year with a record, you'll take a year off?
We're gone. We're out of there. we'll pretend we never even existed.
Now, although you've obviously, whatever you might pretend to think, you have achieved massive success now, and you are a huge band, you've achieved success, but is there anything you would have done differently if you could go back? I mean, what would you say to the young Coldplay if you could go and revisit them in a dream?
In a Back to the Future type way.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting question. No one's ever asked us that question. A bit like Back to the Future, I would say to Johnny, listen, there'll probably come a time in about 2006 where you'll really get angry with me for pushing you too far on a particular point. Please, will you not lose your temper? Because I'll probably be upset about it. I would forewarn you like that.
Thanks, man.
I would say the same thing to Guy and the same thing to Will. What would you say?
I would say, make sure X and Y was slightly shorter.
Yeah, I would have said that as well. Balls.
I only put 11 songs on X and Y.
Yeah, then it would have been...
So which songs would you drop?
Well, that's the thing, we can't agree on it. That's why we didn't drop them.
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Because we love those songs, you know, we're very proud of that record. And... yeah, it's the only thing that annoys us is that we didn't make it quite short enough. Which is great, because now with the internet, people can make it as short as they like. Some people have apparently been putting no songs on it. Rain of love, I can't let go to the sea of locusts just a breeze, a little rain of locusts will stop. How I wish you'd spoken to the rain of love. By the church we waited. Rain of love. Your knees go praying. How I wish you'd spoken on.
Well, what about Coldplay as a band now that you've been together for quite a while? You know, another successful album under your belt. You're all getting a little bit older, richer, busier as each year goes by. Has it become harder to exist as a band, or what's the relationship
much
between
easier.
you? Right?
Because in the midst of all the chaos and furore, what's the word here?
Furore.
Are you sure that you have...
That's how I say it.
Okay. Amidst all the chaos and furore, we have this little gang of people that, you know, even today in soundcheck we spend 20 minutes playing Oasis songs and AC/DC songs, and we just love being together. And at the centre of everything, and when you take away all the good days and bad days and accolades and criticisms and fans and non-fans, you're just left with the fact that you really like the guy who plays drums, you know?
Is that the thing that will keep you together, that keep you making records as the years go on?
We will... I can't imagine us not being friends. Someone would have to do something pretty terrible.
I'm Samantha, and you're listening to Viva Coldplay on Q Radio. Pretty much all the Coldplay music you've heard in this hour is from Viva La Vida, but there are also tracks taken from the associated singles, online releases and EPs to have come out since the album. They've generated quite a bit of excitement, especially one particular track given to Q as a special gift. Now, I understand that you've done an acoustic version of Lovers in Japan, which we are going to be able to play for the very first time.
It's good, and you know, it's probably one of the best things we've ever recorded.
Really?
But we only recorded it last week, so it was too late to go anywhere.
So we get it first. We have benefited from that.
I think, I think when people actually get the album in a few weeks' time, I think some places will include it on some internet stuff. But no one's ever heard it before. and no one will have it for a couple more weeks.
What can you tell us about the track?
Well, it's one of the most important songs we've ever had. I think people will not dislike it too intensely. And this version came out of nowhere last week. So if you want to have it, we'd love you to.
We would absolutely love to have it. Thank you very much. This is a gift from Coldplay.
All right.
To launch QPM.
Yeah.
An acoustic version of Lovers in Japan.
I hope you like it.
Lovers, keep on the road you're on. Runners, until the race is run. Soldiers, you've got to soldier on. Sometimes even the right is wrong. They are turning my head out to see what I'm all about. Keeping my head down to see what it feels like now. But I have no doubt one day we're gonna get out. Tonight, maybe we're gonna run, dreaming of the Osaka sun. Dreaming of when the morning comes. They are turning my head out to see what I'm all about. Keeping my head down to see what it feels like now. But I have no doubt one day the sun will come out.
Back in June when we were speaking, it was just before Glastonbury, and I asked you about Jay-Z because there was a bit of controversy about him at the time.
If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one.
Well, as you mentioned Glastonbury, you've been big fans of the festival, good friends with the festival, and you're also friends and fans of Jay-Z, who's playing with you.
Big fans.
And what do you make of the controversy that's been around his headlining Glastonbury this year?
It's just proof that a great portion of the world are idiots. Well, in fact, I don't even know where the controversy started. It probably started from two people on a computer who don't really know what they're talking about.
But, certain corners of the music industry have had their say in the public.
Which corners? Dark, dank corners that no one gives a shit
Not me
about.
to name names, but I'm sure we know. I mean, how did you feel that he coped?
I thought, well, we were in New York, ironically playing a rap festival.
Right.
We were in New York making the video for the song Viva La Vida, and we watched it on TV, and it seemed to be wonderful to me. How did it seem to you being at the event?
It was brilliant, actually. There was a lot of anticipation, but yeah, he went down a storm, and I thought he silenced his critics. But Jay-Z obviously also has contributed to a track on the recent Lost EP, his sort of reworking of it. Tell me about that. How did that come about, and what was his sort of input?
Well, it's not so much a reworking, it's more, I knew that there was this rap lying around that he hadn't found a track for yet, because he asked me a while ago if we wanted to do the music for these words, and so it was just waiting for something, and then he really liked the beat for Lost, and so we put two and two together, and as Tom York would say, we made five.
And you didn't want to put that on the album, you felt that was something separate to keep as a...
Well, we didn't finish it, so that's why we did the CP, because we hadn't finished any of those songs when we put the album out.
Right.
And also, it's fun to do an EP. People don't do that anymore.
That's true. It's good. I think it's appreciated.
Yeah, just wait until the I got you. With the same sort they night you, they gone good night you with. Shit, it's only half if they like you. That ain't even a half what they might do. Don't believe me, ask Michael. See Martin, see Malcolm. See Biggie, see Pac, see success and its outcome. See Jesus, see Judas. See Caesar, see Brutus. See success is like suicide. Suicide is a suicide. If you succeed, prepare to be crucified. Media medals, Nick to you settle. Every step you take, they remind you get on. So it's tough being Bobby Brown. To be Bobby then, you have to be Bobby now. And the question is to have had and lost better than not having it all? Because
just wait until the shine wears off. Just wait until the shine wears off.
Q magazine described it as your first properly great album. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Wow. Well, Q magazine is the best magazine in history, so we thoroughly agree with that. We thoroughly agree with that.
Is that how you feel about it? I mean, it's also been described as a bold, creative leap forward.
It's also been described, Samantha, as one of the worst pieces of sonic offensiveness. I'm sure. The internet is a great leveler these days. So for every brilliant thing that someone says something equally terrible. And so the best thing is so the truth is, I don't really know what anybody said, because it becomes too much of a roller coaster. So all I notice is live what people sing along to. That's the only thing that I know.
You don't pay attention to bloggers and everything?
No, because it started to drive me nuts.
Right.
So as it does to everybody, I think. I think the age of the rock star is over, because no one can live in that bubble anymore, because there'll always be some 15-year-old on a computer in a cafe somewhere saying that you're an idiot. Which is a good thing.
Well, Chris, does it feel like 2008 has been the year of Coldplay for you, looking back?
Absolutely not. I think it's been the year of Barack Obama. We come a close 17th.
I used to rule the world. Caesar rise when I gave the word. Now in the morning I sleep alone. Sweep the streets I used to own. I used to to let me in. Shattered windows and the sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become. Revolutionaries wait for my head on a silver plate, just a puppet on a lonely string. Oh, who would ever want to be king? I hear Jerusalem bells ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name ever alone this word, but that was when I ruled the world.
I'm Samantha, and you've been listening to Viva Coldplay. Thanks to the boys from the group for being such good friends of my daily show QPM, and of course thanks to you for listening. I'll be back live in the studio on the 5th of January for another all-star year with the biggest and most exciting groups in the world on QPM Monday to Friday from 6 p.m.
That was when I